everybody. Welcome in. We'll wait for everyone to settle in. Welcome. Happy Friday.
I'm still getting ready. I'm like going to take my shoes off so my head's not cut off on the camera.
We're so glad you guys are all here. Today we're talking about Podge Resin and how to use Podge Resin to make some really cool geode inspired projects. And Kira's going to lead us through it today.
Yeah. Hi guys. Happy Friday. I'm taking my jewelry off too, so I don't get resin all over it.
Necessary.
Hi guys. Okay, so I hope some of you guys let Emma know if you've already watched some of our resin classes that we've already had, or if you're new, because I want to go over the basics with you guys. But if you've already watched, you're going to kind of know this, but it's a good refresh. So Podge Resin is brand new. It is one of the hottest trends. There's so much you can do for it. I just started using it actually when we came out with this product, when we were testing it and making videos and projects. And it's so fun because it's like you're making something from nothing. Like when you make a mold, you can literally just make something. And, you know, a lot of our products are just adding to, but this is really fun. So if you are new, I'm going to walk through everything you'll need because there are definitely some, you know, we just want to be smart and safe when we craft with some of these products. And this is different for us also because our products are typically non-toxic and you can just hand wash them off, soap and water, very family friendly. And resin just has a couple, call them safety rules we want to follow when you're crafting just to be safe and smart. So we'll go off of that also. And I am going to be showing you guys how to make this geode. I don't know if you can see that. So this is just a wood slice, a wood cookie. And I'm going to show you how we can make this with resin. So super beautiful. Again, geodes are also trendy, a really fun project. And I also have some other examples here of, again, you can use resin with molds. So these are actually geo-shaped molds that we picked up. You can just use a basic silicone mold. Also, I know Michael's has a lot of great molds that you can actually make a geode or pour into. So a lot of options. And some of our favorite projects that we've done are, you know, we've done our pouring, but then adding the rock salt and the resin to that. So you guys can see that sheen. So that is the resin on there. See how shiny that is? And you can hear it on my nails. So that's just adding resin to it. It totally just takes your project up a notch. So we have a couple examples of that we've done by adding gold leaf and the geode rock salt. So lots of fun things that you can do with this.
Awesome. So Kira, we have a lot of new people here. So maybe we can
good.
the overview of how to get started.
Oh, good. They can hear my whole spiel. Okay. So, and this fabulous box, I was like, I'm going to leave this out because it's really pretty, but this is, I don't even know what this box is. We've had it like a jewelry box, but when we started making rock salt, we've just always kind of kept the loose pieces in here and it's just really pretty. So I was like, I'm going to pull this out and just show everybody because it's really pretty and we're going to use it on a project. A cool way to display it too.
Definitely.
Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. So I'm going to walk through the supplies that you're going to need to get started with resin since we had a lot of newbies. So we recommend keeping all your supplies in a separate container. So you have all your supplies for resin kind of separate from your other crafting supplies. It just makes it easy since there's so many parts and pieces. So I am going to walk you through this. And there is a timer on the table. Can you grab that timer, please? Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you protect your workspace. So you can use a silicone mat, a palette paper, or like a plastic table cover, but you definitely want to protect your table because once the resin gets on there and dries, it's not going to come off. So again, a little bit different than soap and water cleanup. So protect your table. We're working either on a silicone mat or palette paper. And again, you could just roll your mat up and the resin will peel right off just like your silicone molds when you're done. So you're gonna need that. And then you're going to need, we call it PPE, personal protection equipment. So again, it sounds super scary, but it's not. So the things you're gonna need is you wanna wear an apron. So I already have my apron on. You want to have protective eyewear. So I have these awesome, they're like cheetah-ish animal print glasses. So you want to have some protective eyewear to wear while you're working with resin. You also want to have disposable gloves, and these are nitrile gloves. So again, just keep a box of these handy when you're working. And then you want to have a respirator that has organic vapor cartridges. And this is to protect you from the fumes, and you want to work in a well-ventilated area. Again, scary, but it's not. You just want to be safe. And all resin, you should really protect yourself when you're working with it. It's not just the Mod Podge brand. It's just really important to protect yourself. So Plaid decided, you know, when we were going to create this product, we were going to be upfront and just want everybody to be smart because it is so fun and so easy to work with. So you want to have your mask. And then we've actually created a resin, kind of like a cheat sheet for you guys. So it's all about safety. It's all about getting started. You know, there's a lot of different parts and pieces when you're first starting to work with resin, and how to store it, and, you know, mixture times and open times. So we went ahead and made it really easy and put it in this just 2-pager, and it has tons of tips and tricks on it. So you can get that plaidonline.com, and also Michael's should have this also, but Emma can stick the links.
And I can drop that in the link for us all.
Yeah, so just again, great resource to have. So keep that in my bin. Also, you are going to need some type of cups. So you're going to be measuring your resin. It's a 2-part resin system. So we have small cups, we have larger cups, and we even have these little baby like measuring cups. So all these sizes are really great to have. We've got some craft sticks. You could use craft sticks or dowel rods or plastic spoons, but you're going to need something to stir and mix your resin with. Also, these silicone cups are really great too, so you can reuse them because you can just pop the old silicone or the old resin right out of them when you're done. And then, so resin gets bubbles in it. So when you pour your resin, bubbles are going to rise to the top. So there's a couple different ways that you can remove the bubbles. So you can use a butane torch. So this is just like a Zippo lighter or a butane torch to remove the bubbles. You can also use a heat gun. So this is just a heat gun that we have. It's a craft heat gun. You could use a hair dryer, same as a heat gun, just on high heat. Or you can use 91% rubbing alcohol. So again, that's all listed in our resin guide, but there's a couple different ways, and you just want to have one of them. We typically here use the butane torch. It just, you get a lot of control and it's really easy to use. So that's what we are typically using. That's what I'm going to use today to show you guys. And then of course we have our resins. We've got our 1- and 2-part resin. So one is the resin and one is the hardener. So you need equal parts of both of these anytime you're going to be working with resin. Also, I keep a little timer. This is just an inexpensive kitchen timer in here. Instead of having to touch my phone and worry about that and getting resin on my phone, just having this timer is really handy, and it's important because you have to mix your resin for 3 minutes, and then you need to let it rest for 2 minutes before you pour. So it's great just to have this little timer. Okay, so again, we keep everything in the bin, and I'm gonna mask up after we talk through everything. And then while I'm crafting, Emma's gonna be doing the talking and answering questions just to make sure that you can hear me well, since I'll have a mask on.
Absolutely.
So Emma, I'm gonna keep talking unless people have questions.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I'm gonna make this geode, and things you'll need to make the geode are these wood, we call them wood cookies, these wood slices. They're like little coasters. They've got the bark on them, and I love that because we're going to finish it off with treasure gold, so you can really see that awesome shine that you get. So wood cookies, and you can use alcohol ink or acrylic paint in with your resin to tint it. So I'm going to be using Folk Art acrylic paint, and we are going to tint our resin when we pour it, so you can use it clear or tint. And also glitter. So you can mix glitter and gold flakes right into your resin, or add it to the end, like I was showing with the rock salt. So you can use all these different additives with resin. So you can see here, we used glitter, see that? So glitter and gold leaf. So lots of great options. Okay, and we also have some treasure gold. And then you also are going to need some type of like painter's tape or a low tack stencil tape, because we're going to create almost like a dam around our wood cookie to pour our resin into.
Awesome. And Kira, someone had a good question. They wanted to know if our safety information for Mod Podge resin is the same for all epoxy resins that other Michael's classes might be talking about with their brand of resin.
Yep. So I would say that please use our instructions for our product and use the other brand's instructions for their product, just to be safe. You know, everybody has a different stand on it. And I would hate to say that we said use this way. So definitely follow our instructions. And if you're working with a different resin or epoxy, follow those instructions, even though they may be different. I know here at Plaid, like we test everything and we've worked with it. So we want to give you like our best answer. And again, it's just be smart and safe when you're crafting. It's just like anything you would do. So yeah, awesome. That would be my answer. This resin, our Mod Podge resin is food safe. So that means that you could put it on a cutting board or a tray or a cup. We did tumblers last week, so it is food safe. You can't put it in the dishwasher, but you can hand wash it. And I'm trying to think of all the questions people always ask us, but it's good to know. Not recommended for outdoor, like UV safe, because it could fade or the heat could damage it.
Great.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I don't think so. I think we're ready to get started.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to go ahead and tape this off, and then I'm going to, just because it's easier without all of my stuff on. Okay. So I'm going to take a wood cookie, a wood slice, and I'm going to take my tape, and I am going to just tape around the edge of this wood. So you can see I'm going to line it up with the bottom and tape all around it.
So Kira, while you're taping the edges of that little wood slice, Emily wanted to know, is it safe to put a hot cup of coffee on our resin if you had like a resin coaster or something?
I think it just depends like on the temperature. I think it would be fine as long as it's properly cured. So curing is very important, but I know we detail that out in the instructions, the temperature. So I would just verify that.
Great.
Yep. Yeah, so curing is very important when working with resin also. So it's properly, as long as it's properly cured, it's food safe. So you definitely want to follow those directions.
And Kira, Cricket's in the chat and wanted to let you know that they say hi.
Oh, hi. Hey guys. Okay, so we're going to tape this off. So you can see the bottom is flat, and then you basically created like a channel and a dam to stop the resin. So that's going to hold your resin in. And then once the resin cures, you're going to be able to remove that, and it's going to have like a nice finished edge. And the resin's not going to stick to the tape.
And Kira, someone wanted to know, how long does it take for our resin to cure?
Yep. So I'm going to tell you that it takes 3 to 7 days. So within 24 hours, you can demold it. So you can pop it out of your mold or touch it or use it, especially like on a canvas. But if it's going to be food safe or something that you're using like that, it's 7 to 10 days or 3 to 7 days, sorry, to fully cure to be food safe.
Awesome. And you know what, Emily, I just looked it up. Our Mod Podge resin is heat resistant up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit.
Perfect. I knew there was a degree on it, yes. So I didn't want to say like if you have scalding, boiling hot water, which I don't know who would be drinking like boiling water, but absolutely. Yeah. Also, when you're working with Mod Podge resin, once you mix it, so if you have your 1 and 2 parts separate, once you combine them in your cup, you have about 30 to 40 minutes of working time. So you want to be mindful of that also. So you don't want to like mix a bunch and then go do something or try to come back to it. Like once it's mixed, you've got to go on and you got about 30 minutes. So, okay. And again, all that info is on here, which is awesome. Like we just like bullet it out for you, super easy, like literally work on a level surface, open time, cure time, shelf life, how to store it. So a lot of great resources here. And again, on michaels.com also has a ton of inspiration and product knowledge for you to make it easy.
Right. And a lot of these great questions that you guys are asking can all be answered in that document too. So if you are at home and working with our Mod Podge resin, and obviously not watching this video and you have a great question like that, it can be answered with this document.
Yeah, because Michael's has a great library of all these videos on michaels.com and their community classroom page. So if you're not crafting along with us, this one's kind of hard to craft along with, but if you aren't and you want to go back, you can totally grab that reference guide and watch along with us.
Okay, great. And also, Kira, Nancy had a good question. They wanted to know, how do you determine how much resin to mix for a project?
Yep. So we actually also spell that out in our instructions in our packaging, and it'll say the amount of like square footage or how much surface area it will cover based on the amount that you measure.
Right. And also, if we are working with a project that we don't have a measurement for, we always like to have like an extra mold around in case we do find ourselves with an extra resin. We can pour it in a jewelry mold, a coaster mold. It's just a good little thing.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to get started. So Emma's going to talk. I'm going to gear up. Again, it's going to look scary, but it is not. And again, if you work with resin, you totally understand the safety issue. And I think everybody's so used to wearing masks right now. To me, it's just another big funny mask to wear. So I'm going to put this on, and then we're going to start mixing our resin.
Awesome.
All right. Okay, so my hair is going to get crazy. I'm going to put this on first.
Martin said everyone needs a dump mold. I love that term. That's awesome. Mold. But you certainly do.
Yeah.
You have like a coaster or a little jewelry mold. It's great to just keep those around whenever you're working on a project.
Absolutely.
And someone asked for that safety guide again, so I'm going to re-put that in the chat. It is printable, so that's great to have when you're working with Mod Podge resin.
All right. Looking good?
Looking good, Kira. And then Martin said again, do you have a brand of mask you prefer? Not really. You just want to make sure that you have that organic vapor cartridge. All right.
You can get it at your
local hardware store.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is a fun game we like to play with the team now. They have to read my mind.
It's super fun. Okay, and then Angeli said, is it food safe, like for an outside top of a tumbler or food tray? Angeli, totally. We would just say if you put it on a cutting board, make sure you put it on the part of the cutting board that you're not actually going to be directly cutting on, because you don't want to, like get scratches on the resin and then, have little particles of resin in your food. That wouldn't be good. So just be mindful of that. Okay. So Kira right now is going to put her first part of her resin in her measured cups, and we have those measured cups. They are a great tool for resin. That way you can totally be sure that you're getting that 50-50 ratio that you want with your resin. And like Kira mentioned too, there's great silicone cups that you can use to be a little less wasteful, and then it'll obviously pop right out once the resin is hardened after 24 hours. So that's a great option too. But we would just really like that those are measured on the sides, just so we can be sure that we're getting that 50-50. And someone asked, could you work outside without the mask? We would still recommend to wear that respirator just to be extra super safe. It's always good to wear your organic vapor cartridge respirator and work in a well-ventilated area. But that is a great question. Thanks for asking that. How much do you measure out? Okay, so yeah, so right now, yeah, so 1-to-1, just make sure you have that 1-to-1 ratio. A lot of people were saying that they like to have a dump mold, which is a great idea. So if you do pour too much resin, you can pour it into that mold that you have set aside. Or if you pour, too little resin, you can always mix some more. So right now, Kira is putting her, her first part there into a third cup. And we just like to do that just to make sure that we, keep the ratio 50-50 and that we get all of the resin goodness mixed together and well incorporated. So she's just putting her first cup in that third cup, and she's scraping the sides just to make sure that she really gets all of the resin in there. That's an important step. When you're mixing your resin or adding it, you just want to make sure that you scrape those sides. Now she's pouring her second part in. I've said this before on a resin class. I feel like a sports commentator when I am speaking for our crafter, but she's just going ahead and making sure that she's getting that exact 50-50.
Emma, it'd be more like the puppy bowl.
Yeah, the puppy bowl. I love that.
In the Super Bowl.
Okay, someone said resin and pour painting is not the same, question mark. That's a good question. So you could definitely tint your resin and then have a bunch of different, and so yeah, so now Kira is getting ready to stir together. She has her timer set to 3 minutes. We always like to have that separate timer. That way, just when you're working with your resin, you don't have to be touching your phone and risk getting, resin on your phone or whatever. So we like to have a separate little, super inexpensive timer. And we set that for 3 minutes. We like to have that in our resin kit.
Okay, so to save time, so people don't need to watch me stir, we have another one that we went ahead and pre-mixed. So I'm gonna grab that and set this aside, and we'll use this one.
Yes, we will definitely use that. We don't like to let any resin go to waste here at Plaid.
Okay.
We love resin.
Okay, so I'm just gonna give him another stir since he sat.
Right.
Okay.
And so then another important part, after you let your resin mix for 3 minutes, you just want to keep agitating it just to make sure that it's well incorporated. You just want to let that sit after for another 2 minutes, just to make it like the right texture and consistency to work with. Okay, so right now Kira is getting other cups, and what she's going to do now is she's going to pour her mixed resin into these 3 cups so that way she can tint them, so that she can start pouring a geode style pattern. And obviously and that's kind of like that question I was going to answer before. So yes, paint pouring and resin pouring are separate. Obviously with just paint pouring, you need like a pouring medium or pre-mixed pouring paint. And with this, we are tinting the resin with paint, and we like to use Folk Art acrylic here at Plaid. But we're tinting the resin, and then we are going to actually be mixing the resin together. So Kira's has her white color there available at Michael's. I'm pretty sure that's titanium white. And she's squeezing out a little bit. You just want to be careful that you don't put too much paint into your resin, because you don't want to, like we said a bunch of times, you don't want to affect that 50-50 ratio. And because really you're going to run into the risk of your resin being too pliable once it cures. And then it won't be hard like you obviously want from resin. And someone had a great question: how do you remove the bubbles that come when mixing? So we like to have a little torch on hand, and Kira can show that too. So Kira's adding her 3rd color there. We like to have a little torch on hand, and we just want to keep it, like maybe, I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. We don't like to get it too close to the resin, but at a safe distance to where the bubbles are popping, so we don't have that, that bumpy raised texture. So we like to have a little butane torch.
So Emma, I was going to tell him that you could actually pour with resin as your pouring medium.
Yes, absolutely. So we could use Folk Art acrylic paint with pouring medium, or you can tint your resin, use your resin as your pouring medium, totally. And someone said, what works better, the torch or alcohol? So what they're talking about is you could also spritz some rubbing alcohol onto your resin to remove some of those bubbles, but it's really just user preference. You just kind of have to play around with it and see what works best for you. We found that they both work really well, so. Okay, so now Kira's just mixing up her paint and her resin. She's stirring her paint into her resin, making sure that it is well incorporated. Erin said the heat gun / butane torch pops the bubbles. Absolutely. And then someone said, how much time do you have to work with the resin before it starts getting hard? That is a great question. You have about 40 minutes of working time with your Mod Podge resin before it starts to harden on you. So that 40-minute time is really the allotment you have to manipulate your resin before it gets too hard. You know what? Someone asked, can you measure the resin by weight? We like to just measure the resin by volume. I'm not totally sure. I wish I knew the answer. You can, Kira? Okay.
Yeah, so if you had a scale, as long as it's that 1-to-1 ratio, the weight, you can absolutely use a scale.
Okay, awesome. I didn't even know that. I've just been measuring it by volume, but that's good to know. So you can measure it by weight or volume. Great question. Okay, and Kira, would you mind? We have a question asking what green paint colors you use. So just whenever you get a moment.
Yep, I use Cricut. And
Okay.
licorice.
Okay, so that is not actually a green. It does look green from here.
Green,
so that's thicket
yeah.
and licorice. So licorice is a black color that is a folk art color. So I can list those in the chat.
And then this is just a glitter at Michael's. It's just a really pretty gold and silver kind of a mix.
So pretty. And then someone said, where should I get the stones you put in the geode? So Michael's has a lot of great stones, like in the jewelry section and stuff, but we actually made our own little geodes with a mixture of rock salt, like ice cream salt, and Mod Podge gloss and fine glitter. So list those paints in the chat, sorry.
After we do this, we can talk about that and I can show them.
Okay, great. All right.
Okay, so
now Kira has her little wood slice, and obviously she taped off the sides because, like we said a bunch of times, our resin is self-leveling, so it's gonna wanna go off those sides. So you just need a barrier to keep your resin in place and to create that level surface on top of whatever surface that you're pouring on. So right now, Kira is just pouring her white tinted resin, and now she's gonna go with her thicket and kind of make rings. Don't be intimidated by this. Anybody can do this, but she's just going around in a circular motion, just making those rings because that, makes it look really realistic like a geode. And so something too, if you want your lines to be really clean with your geode, you would want to, give each ring a couple of minutes before you add another layer to the outside, like in a ring formation. But you can see Kira's lines are really pretty and organic, and that's because she's not giving that any time to wait for the resin on the middle part to harden at all. So the resin is, really organic looking, and it really looks like it's coming like something from the earth. Then someone said, how long will these videos stay on the Michaels website? So they will be up on the Michaels website in about 24 hours, and they live there permanently. Okay, Kira's just finishing up her little, that is so pretty, Kira. That's really gorgeous. So the best part about resin is that you just really can have so much fun with it. You just keep, adding and mixing until you are, until you like what you end up with, really. But if you wanted to kind of, mix some of the colors together and add a little bit more texture, you could get like a toothpick or a popsicle stick and, kind of manipulate it physically. That's a great option too. Or you can just, let your Mod Podge resin do its thing. So someone said for every color, we mix both the resin and the hardener for the colors too. So, like we did in the beginning, Kira mixed her 1 part and 2 part together. She mixed that for 3 minutes. Then you'd let it sit for 2 minutes. And then you would separate that mixed resin into separate cups, and then you would tint it. So you mix the 2 parts together and then you tint it afterwards. Great question. And now Kira's just adding some gold flakes, some gold leaf segments too.
Here's a tip: have tweezers when you're working with gold leaf available. It will make it much easier.
Great question. That way you can be really precise about your placement. Someone said, do you mix the glitter last? So it's really just up to you. You can mix it in any order you want, but just make sure that you have those 2 parts together, mixed for 3 minutes, set for 2 minutes, and then you can separate them into separate cups and add whatever additives you want to add to your resin. How thick can the resin be poured? So I'm just looking at that. So we have on our, plaidonline.com website, someone said, can I thin out the resin mixture? So you can place both parts, your part 1 and your part 2, into a warm water bath of 80 degrees Fahrenheit, but just be mindful that the working time will be much less than 20 to 30 minutes. So you can thin it out separately. All right, now Kira's just adding a little drizzle of glitter on top for that little sparkly finish. So pretty. That's looking really good, Kira.
So this would, you would just let this sit again about 24 hours, and then you can remove the tape.
Totally, and that we all know that's the best part about resin is demolding and seeing what you created. Someone said, what part was Mod Podge? So this is Mod Podge brand resin. And obviously we're super excited about it. Here at Plaid, we're the creators of Mod Podge, and this has been in the works for years and years. And we are so excited to have it available at Michael's and to present it to you guys.
Okay, so here's one we've done. We've gone ahead and demolded him.
So pretty.
And then I'm just gonna use our treasure gold. And I'm going to paint the edges.
I love that. And that's a great little tip too. Obviously, like Kira's showing us, Mod Podge resin can be painted on as well as tinted with paint. So that treasure gold is really the perfect pairing with our Mod Podge resin. And someone said, is it available in stores now? It is. So definitely go check out your local Michael's and, you know, check your resin aisle for all new Mod Podge resin. That is so pretty, Kira. I can't get over it.
There's some tape left on it. That's totally fine. If you need to, if you have any rough spots on your resin, you can sand it.
Totally. And then you can just brush a little bit more resin over it. If you have like a cloudy sanded texture, you just brush a little bit of resin over it, let that cure, and then it's crystal clear. And you just sand it with some fine grit sandpaper. Good question.
Absolutely. Yeah. So then this is what you end up with. This is our completed one.
Gorgeous. Oh my gosh, so pretty.
So what you could do, if you wanted to, you could add some of the rock salt into this. So.
And two, if you wanted to create a project that was a little bit more similar to what was, and someone said mask up to sand. Thank you, Martin. That is a good tip. Definitely keep your mask on when you're sanding your resin as well. So if you wanted to make a project that was more similar, I can't say similar today, to the project listing, like those really geode shaped resin projects, Michael's does have a geode mold shape at Michael's. So check that out. Yes, looks like that.
We could do the same thing. We could do the same colors. You could do different colors.
Yeah, and it's the same technique. You just pour it in there and layer it just like Kira did with into rings. And you can add your same additives, your glitter, your gold flake. Someone said, can this resin be used to create an ocean tabletop? So absolutely. That is so big right now. People stealing tabletops and doing paint pouring on like nightstands and dining tables with resin. You could definitely do that with Mod Podge resin. Great question. So how thick can the resin be poured and still cure? We like to tell people that you have a 40-minute working time with our resin. So obviously the longer the resin stays in like open air, the thicker it's gonna get. So we say that you have about 40 minutes to work with your resin, and before it starts to really, before the curing process really starts.
I think they're talking thickness, like how deep
you
could pour. So you want to not overflow your mold, but you could go to the top. It's not going to expand, but you could fill your mold all the way up.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. And then you could even use some of this clear and pour on top once you added your pieces.
Pretty.
So you could add, you know, some chunks. You could add more glitter. And it's a different look with the glitter mixed with the resin and the loose glitter, for sure.
And so Christina said, can you place charms and preserved flowers in the resin? Absolutely, Christina. Yeah. So we did a class with Michael's a little while back, and it is on their Michael's community classroom page and on their YouTube channel, where we showed you some tips on how to embed stuff into resin. And we, the whole class was about preserved flowers. So go check that out, Christina.
Absolutely. Well, are there any other resin questions? I made a mess here.
I'm sure that, so someone said, is there like a maximum resin mixture amount that you can do?
a maximum. So it's just, so these bottles are, it's either 4 ounces or 8 ounces.
Yes.
So it's a 1-to-1, and that's how much it'll make. So it depends how big your mold is or what you're pouring on. So if you have a giant canvas, you could just keep working in, you know, batches. And as long as you have that all used up by your 30 to 40 minutes, it would be okay.
Yes. And then someone
so
said, could you
about bubbles?
What?
I just saw one of the.
Oh yeah. They were wanting to know why you're not heating it. So sometimes you don't need to use a torch to clear some of the bubbles in your resin. You really just need to do that if you see visible bubbles. You obviously can through the different layers of your resin if you're doing separate layers. Okay. But it's really just if the bubbles are visible. And then someone said, Kira, could you take like a toothpick and crisscross the colors of the resin?
You could take a toothpick or popsicle stick and you could absolutely swirl it.
And then someone said, Kira, is that going to be the top or the bottom when you unmold it?
That's a great question. So that will be the bottom.
Okay.
So, yep. And then here's some other examples that we've done, but the same process.
So pretty.
So this would be the side that was up when we poured, and then when you take it out, that's what you got.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful. This is a beautiful one too. This was on it, just a piece of wood also.
I love that. It's a very like mystical, like fantasy looking.
Yeah, and then this was with alcohol inks. You can see the transparency. So when you mix paint, it's going to be opaque, but when you use alcohol inks, it's transparent.
So pretty.
Yeah.
And Michael's has some great alcohol inks, of course, to use with resin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Great. Emma, do you want to pick a winner if there's no more questions?
Sure, absolutely. So let me go through here.
Oh, and does anybody have more questions about the rock salt?
Yeah, while I'm picking a winner, Kira, do you want to just like kind of go over that? We had a lot of questions in the beginning.
I'm just going to get this out of the way.
All right, I'm going to kind of stand off to the side here. So I'm not right over the resin without my mask on. But so I wanted to tell you guys for the Mod Podge rock salt, and we've done some classes on this before. So you guys can see what you do is it is rock salt. So like ice cream salt that you buy at the grocery store, you mix it with Mod Podge and I wish I had it here to show you guys, but you mix it and you add glitter and then it turns into these crystals and you can actually create your own like little baby crystal geodes.
So cute. I love that that technique.
Yep. So it's I believe it's like I don't want to tell you guys wrong. It's 2 spoonfuls of Mod Podge glass and then 5 spoonfuls of rock salt.
Yeah.
Add your glitter, mix it really, really well. And it's going to be all cloudy and yucky looking. Spread it out on parchment paper or a silicone mat and let it dry. And this is what you're going to get.
Yes. So pretty. Okay. Are we ready for the winner of this class?
Yeah.
Okay, so the winner of our class today is Martin Childs. So Martin, make sure to go to Plaid Crafts on Facebook, send us a direct message, let us know that you won the prize for our class today, and we'll ask for some info and make sure we send you over some plaid product.
Awesome. Thanks guys for joining us. Hope you guys have a great Friday. Go to michaels.com and check out some more of our community classroom classes that we have. I know Kirsten will be here Monday and we've got some more lives next week. And thank you, Michaels. You definitely want to get all your product at Michaels and michaels.com, have it safely delivered to you. And thank you guys for joining us so much. We hope you enjoy Mod Podge Resin.
Yeah. Bye guys. Happy Friday.
Bye.